And obviously, and this is quite a bit of miraculousness, partisans on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, know exactly what happened. On the Democratic side, they are convinced that this woman needs to be trusted, that she couldn't possibly be lying, and that this is disqualifying for Mr. Kavanaugh. And Republicans, many of them, seem to think that this couldn't possibly be true, that she is a liar, that she is a Democrat shill, and that she cannot be trusted, and that Mr. Kavanaugh is innocent. I, on the other hand, find myself in a bizarre circumstance where I say, this is an interesting thing to have happen. I have no idea how you can adjudicate whether or not this is true, except by looking at facts and evidence. And it seems to me that it might be really difficult to prove in either direction. I don't know, which is not satisfactory for many people. I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but it does seem to me that there's something pretty crass and gross about leaping to conclusions about what happened here as a consequence of your party affiliation. But that's just me. I'll allow you gentlemen to weigh in. Perhaps there's something else here going on here that's more interesting than what I've laid out.
It's so damnably hard to prove these things, even if they happened last week, let alone 36 years ago. You would need, because Kavanaugh has a blanket denial saying it was never anything like that at all.
2 times he said it.
Certainly, he wasn't at the party.
So, okay, you need to find anyone else who was there to say, yes, he was, or no, he was not. That's the only bit of information I think that you can get that would be anything like convincing hard evidence. Otherwise, it's just going to be emoting and then the kind of posturing reaction to the emoting, and we're all screwed.
I don't know what happened.
Don't know.
And I'm really annoyed by the number of people who believe that they do know what happened based on very little information that's 30 plus years old, particularly the reprehensible Matthew Dowd, who is, sort of banging his drum and virtue signaling, the old Bush administration guy, who was saying, hang him high. He's the worst. And we should all sort of rally the troops and make sure that Brett Kavanaugh doesn't ever come to the bench. I don't know if he should, and I'm not in a position to understand that. If you want to look into these things, by all means, go ahead and look into these things. The parallels to the Anita Hill story, which are not particularly interesting right now. The thing about the Anita Hill story is it was investigated privately, not by the FBI. They took statements. That's it. Everyone says, oh, they're investigating. They didn't investigate anything. They took statements.
That's a good point.
So the investigations came from crackpots on the right, like David Brock, who became a guy of the left, and the real Anita Hill, who he famously referred to as a little bit nutty and a little bit slutty. Lovely guy. I'm glad that he's running Media Matters now. It's not a coincidence that your believe or don't believe overlaps almost entirely with your politics. I mean, it's liberals believe this and the conservatives don't.